Alright, who's ready for some great Celtic cooking today? I'm Chef McBride, and welcome to the kitchen of the Celticator. Here we're doing some great dishes in Celtic cuisine. If you like us, just quickly start off with this. Anything that we're doing here, please go to our Facebook page, the Celticator and Chef McBride. Or you can come down below when you see any of this and come on to our YouTube page here where you're hopefully see a lot of other episodes. So today, what we're doing on the Celtic is what's called a sauteed bay scallop or sauteed queenies. This has all come from the little teeny island of Man, which is, if you don't know Island of Man, it's one of the 8 Celtic nations. It's in the North Irish Sea. It's almost exactly equal between Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, just in the middle of the little island. And they're kind of like, at one time, Island of Man was like half Scottish, but it's always been half Viking. It has a huge Norse influence for it all. And we're going to go and talk about it. Well, queenies, what they do, and they actually have a festival in the Isle of Man called a Queenie Festival. Queenies refer to the small bay scallops. Those are the really little ones compared to the big ones. Now here's something that you need to know. We're going to go and talk about this as we want to get going, because this is a sauteed queenie salad with spinach, tomatoes, black olives, leeks, quail's eggs, and blue cheese crumbles. Kind of a little bit mixture. If you wanted to, you can also go a little bit further and add a little bit of walnuts in for it. So we're going to go and start off with our little bit of our dish here first. We're going to talk about some scallops in a bit. But we're going to take our tomatoes. We're going to go and kind of pan-sear our tomatoes here first with, and thank you for my neighbor here who contributed some fresh, I think we used up our oil gas from last time. Got a brand new stove. New equipment while we're trying to do this during downtime here. There we go. So, we've got a fresh basil in here, our tomatoes. I'm going to add in a little bit of garlic salt right now. And a little bit of dried oregano. I like dried oregano in this because dried oregano is going to go and give us a little bit more intense flavor than fresh oregano. What we kind of want with our little flavor here. This is one of the few dishes that uses a lot of those southern herbs of basils and oreganos, mainly because the Island of Man, which is one of the smallest of the 8 Celtic nations, they were also the biggest seafarers, and so they used to go and travel all over Europe and brought back a lot of the different cuisines to all of the 8 Celtic nations, as well as spread out a lot of those different dishes. So we're going to go and add this while we're sauteing. I had the pan season, but I want to add a little bit of olive oil in here as well. And just get these seasoned in. This is, like I said, this whole recipe is in our Wales and the Isle of Man cookbook. We get all our, and while we're going to sauteing our tomatoes with our basil, we're going to put in some Kalamata olives. These are pitted. And we want to go and get these sauteed in here as well. And add a really good flavor. What we're cooking here for it all. Like I said, this is an amazing salad. I actually have a friend of mine. I went and cooked this for some friends of mine out in California. And one of those is the guys that, you know, you always have friends that are like this. I don't eat any green food, meaning lettuce and stuff. But this is one where he kept coming back for seconds and thirds and so forth. This is in our salad mixture for it all, because it is predominantly a seafood salad mix. So we're just sauteing this a little bit. And I'm going to move this now and change out our pans. And put this on a low heat over here. We don't want to overdo this. And now what we're going to go, a little bit more olive oil. We're going to take care of our scallops here. Now, as I said, we're using bay scallops. Now, here's the biggest thing to know between sea scallops and bay scallops. Both of them are a salt water, though bay scallops can also be a freshwater fish for it all. But you have to watch out for it. 60 to 70% of all the scallops sold in the United States are artificial. It is an illegal thing to do now, where what they do is they'll go and make a stamp out of manta ray or skate. How you can go and tell the difference. Big one is if all the pieces are exactly the same cut, it's a stamp out. If they're slightly tapered at one end, they're a fake. They're an artificial for it all. They're not a real scallops. Now, where can you go and find real bay scallops, real sea scallops? Go to your Mexican, Hispanic, or better yet, Asian markets. Now, the reason why those are going to be better on Florida is because the population has been eating bay and sea scallops far more consistency than your average American. So they are far more discerning of a population. They're not going to go and put up with artificial when they know what the real thing tastes like. So we're going to take our bay scallops in our olive oil here. And at the same time, it's just a little high here, we're going to add, and I've gotten some potatoes that have already parboiled. And at the same time, I'm going to add in a little bit of leeks. And we want to go and press this all around. The scallops are not going to take any time. Now, here's the thing about bay scallops, so you can kind of get to see a little bit here. Bay scallops will have a little bit sweeter of flavor than your sea scallops will for it all. Which is why a lot of times when you go and see a lot of the times when they're doing the big bay scallops or sea scallops, and if you want to go, you can use sea scallops as well, but saute each one of your scallops, a little bit of brown sugar and a little bit of white pepper before you sear them in here. So we're getting this all mixed in, and we're going to add in a couple other things right now. One is a little bit of parsley. New items here all the time. A little parsley. But more important, we're going to put in a little bit of the Celtic Cater grilling seasoning. Now this has a bit of it has a little bit of rosemary, garlic, white pepper, and sage in there, and that's going to give it the flavor we want to mix in with what we're sauteing here on our dish. When we get this all mixed in, get all those flavors in, as you can see, kind of all adding in. The bay scallops will not take very much time to go. Now at the same time right now, I'm going to add in just a little bit of garlic powder, because you can really never get that much garlic. Now another thing to do, if you would like to go and try this out with a dish for it all, I have done in the past, is use a little bit of black garlic. It'll give a smokier flavor into it. It's really, really tasty for it all. So we've got our dishes kind of right now sauteing up here. I've got my tomatoes in here all kind of cooking up. Don't want to overcook those a little bit. Turn our heat down here. What we're going to do is we're going to put it on our bed of fresh spinach for it all. Now you could use, if you wanted to, mixed greens for it all. It'll work just as well. We're running out of room here at the moment. But I want to go and say the last thing we're going to add in, while our heat is with this, is we're going to add in a little blue cheese crumbles. Now you want to put it in now so that the heat can help melt just a little bit of the blue cheese in there. Not much, just a little bit. And then we're going to all place everything on top of our salad here. Now sometimes what I like to go and do is I will go and pre-portion this out on a plate, and so each plate has got a little bit of the greens first, and then we go and add in everything else we want to do. And in this case, we're going to kind of do that a little bit by, let's remove this all together here. First, I'm going to add in my tomatoes and my olives. I decorate that around my dish here. Now, one part that I told you at the beginning that we're using that I haven't mentioned too much of, that we use as well, is quail eggs. Now they're a little bit smaller. Eggs look a bit like this. I have about 30 of them here. You could probably use about a dozen eggs for this thing if you want to do regular size. Now, where do you find quail eggs? Same thing either at those Asian markets or at the Hispanic markets. They do have them there. Now, thing about quail eggs is when you go to hard boil them, check any of them floating. I had 30 of them here, 2 of them still were floating. Those are the ones you want to throw away. Everything else is going to be fine. Now you can go and if you wanted to, you could, if you were parceling this out for everybody, you could split them out a little bit like this, or in this case, because they are just so bite-sized small, we can spread that out on our plate. Take the rest of our cheesy goodness now here, because as you've melted that blue cheese in with the potatoes. Mix all this up, and then the last thing I like to do just a little bit on this dish is add a little bit of drops of some red wine vinegar. Not much, just a little bit. Now, as you can see, this is portioned out. This is all put together in this. We could go in, take our dish, and toss it all together. And you have a really nice, lovely dish salad here that's got a little bit of the seafood, the bay scallops in there, the olives, the potatoes, the tomatoes, sauteed all together, and it's just an excellent, excellent little salad to go and make for everything. So I said the key things for this one is the calamari olives. You really need to have the eggs. If you can get the quail eggs, they really add to it. Make sure you get the bay scallops if you can. If not, go for the sea scallops, but then cut them up into 4s, add a little brown sugar and a little white pepper. And in fact, that's the last bit I was going to garnish this with, is a little bit of white pepper. I like white pepper in this kind of a dish for it all. It's not as coarse or as harsh as my black pepper, but it still comes out with a really, really good flavor and not overpowering for everything. So again, this recipe is in our Wales and Island of Man cookbook. It's from the Island of Man. It is a sauteed queen scallop with black olives salad for it all. All the really goodness for it. The pitless or pitted black olives, calamari olives really, really add that tangy flavor for it. So I'd like to thank you all very much. As they say in Gaelic, Slán flúr till we all meet again. Thank you all very much. Make sure you like our page here.